Well, hello everybody. Today we're doing every episode of SpongeBob Season 3 reviewed. We have 34 regular 11-minute episodes and 3 specials. Today we're doing this all in one video instead of our usual part, like one part through part 4, something like that. So we're doing this all in one. We start off with an amazing episode, 41A, The Algae's Always Greener. Plankton swaps live with Mr. Krabs. My hero was the victory screech. The worst part was the beginning. There were a bunch of cheesy bad jokes in there. But this episode was really funny. Mr. Plankton's quote right there. Oh my goodness! SpongeBob clothed Mr. Krabs with a bra, and many others. This is actually an honorable mentions list of my best SpongeBob's episodes. Keep safe with episode 41B, SpongeGuard on duty. SpongeBob becomes a lifeguard. My hero was the first half. It was very funny with that really good joke. I actually liked Larry in this episode, unlike an episode in the future where he's really inconsistent and not a jerk. But the second half is kind of boring and kind of unfunny, but this is still likable listening, but very close to a mixed. 42A, Club SpongeBob. SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward get stuck in the kelp forest. My favorite part was the gags. Squidward running back to the same thing, the magic punch, the stuff falling out of the sky. But the worst part was the ending. It was really bad. But it still didn't ruin this likable listening of that episode. 42B, My Pretty Seahorse. SpongeBob gets a seahorse furry friend. My favorite was the coin slot. Worst part was some boringness. This episode was a little boring at some parts. But there were still some jokes like Squidward remembering his karma and SpongeBob's impression of Mystery and Mr. Krabs' reaction and his story. But SpongeBob trying to hide Mystery and the Krusty Krab was a little bit uncomfortable. Watch out for episode 43A, The Bully. SpongeBob gets threatened by a bully. My hero is the antics. Patrick being friends with Flats. Everybody putting on their happy face. I mean it. Okay, so and many more. SpongeBob in the toilet, and he's shrinking into the background. Mrs. Krabs was really oblivious in this episode, and there was an inconsistency of Flats driving a garbage truck. But it's still likable listening. Just have one look at 43B. Just one bite. Squidward gets addicted to Krabby Patties after having just one bite. He said the thing. He said the thing. My part was the jokes and the issue that they tackle. Like Squidward's quote right there. The unsure face. Squidward's dream was really weird. That kind of knocked it off the top 10 of the season, though. And they tackle a very serious issue of addiction. And that Buns and Fries joke did come back. But it was just the Fries this time. But my favorite part were the Buns. Just kidding. Be careful not to eat 44A, Nasty Patty. Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob think they killed a health inspector. This does dark humor very right. The height of this episode was we've been Smeagol-dwarfed. And other jokes. The rest probably was the beginning. It is a little slow. And there's other great jokes like the Nasty Patty making scene. What SpongeBob calls the health inspector, and SpongeBob's hat and the health inspector's head sticking out of the ground. You Looney Loofah, episode 44B, is Idiot Box. SpongeBob and Patrick play in a TV box that drives Squidward insane. My part was the gags, and of course, oopsie, I accidentally put that there. I really like imagination. I don't think it's one of the worst parts of the episode. I accidentally pushed it there. But there are other great gags like the box kicking law, Robot Pirate Island, fighting cowboys on the moon, and other gags that you probably know. 45A! Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4! SpongeBob shrinks everybody with Mermaid Man's belt. My was, of course, Wumbo. This episode, this plot and story was so flimsy. And Squidward does get tortured. But it's funny when Squidward gets tortured. His wailsing and screaming is so funny. And Patrick's runner about Squidward and the pickle, and Squidward's line, I wonder if a fall from this height would kill me. But everybody crawling inside SpongeBob, destroying his organs, bones, blood vessels, and muscles, and everything else in between, was very weird. It's a very in the middle, good, like, listening. Make sure you don't commit any crimes, or else you'll be doing episode 45B, doing time. After Mrs. Puff gets imprisoned, Patrick and SpongeBob try to break her out. My favorite part was Spongy and Patrick robbing in the break. Put the money in the bag. Put it in. And the gag about living on the outside. And some more in the beginning. And at the end with the loop. But what at least was the final montage where Mrs. Puff rips off the guard's skin and she goes in skating. That was a little weird for my liking. Too weird for my liking. Episode 46A, Snowball Effect. SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward get into a snowball fight that escalates. My favorite part was Patrick choking. I purposely made it joking because it's a joke. Why? This show makes choking funny. I don't know how they do that. And the escalation was pretty good, and Patrick using the bathroom. 46B, one Krabs trash. Mr. Krabs tries to receive an expensive hat that he sold to SpongeBob, which leads to him digging up a grave. My favorite part was the gags. Smitty Warven Jaegerman Jensen, he was number 1. The plunger and soup ladle. I've seen this on The Late Show. We just want the head back. And Mr. Krabs fighting the skeletons were all pretty good. But the very beginning was kind of boring and a little just off for my liking. It definitely knocked this episode off the top 10 for me. 47A. Did you see this episode as seen on TV? SpongeBob thinks he's famous after appearing in the background of a Krusty Krab commercial. How was the gags? Once again, this episode is the best episode of SpongeBob Season 3. If it weren't for SpongeBob's arrogance, that kind of does drag this episode down. But there are gags constantly fired. So, Squidward in the female costume, the Krusty Krab commercials, bad production, the clowns dying. This job gets very depressing. The second Krusty Krab, the second Mr. Krabs, the cowboys fighting in the background, the useless junk, Mr. Krabs talking to his worm. Did you hear Glenny the Pinkfish on the Flounderman? SpongeBob being a jet pilot. Him doing the snapping thing. The vampire joke and many more were all very funny. And this is one of my favorites. When Squidward asks that to Mr. Krabs in the bad commercial, Mr. Krabs has this weird thing going on in the background. It's really funny. Can you spare 47B, can you spare a dime? Squidward gets fired over a dime and free loads off of SpongeBob. Highlight was the story and the title. The story and title were amazing. Let's start off the title. It was a reference to the 1940 song, Can You Spare, Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? And it's good because Squid, if somebody could spare Squid a dime, he could get his job back. And he gets fired over a dime, so if someone can give him a dime, he could get his job back. And the story was really good. My heart was the gross heart. I like the gross heart, but I don't like it the way it looks. This was a really great episode. A Frenchie quitting, the cookie salesman, listen you crustaceous cheapskate, the time cards, the maid costume, the odd number. Those were all great jokes to make this episode really good. 48A, no weenies allowed. SpongeBob tries to get into a tough guy bar and fails. Here was Weenie Hut Juniors. I can't believe they named a bar Weenie Hut Juniors. And the other jokes like the tattoo, the drifter, SpongeBob's failed attempts, which is also like almost my favorite part. My hair was the boo-boos. That was really childish and stupid and knocked the episode off my top 10. 48B. Squilliam returns. Squidward makes the Krusty Krab into a fancy restaurant to impress Squilliam. Highlights the gag. Oh no, he's nice. Tonight. Hamana, 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 hamana. The appetizer and the SS diarrhea. You mean like a weenie? Her heart was it going bad for Squidward in the end. He deserved this. He deserved to lie to his rival. Squidward was being such a stuck-up snob, and he definitely deserved this. 49A, beep beep boop bop, Crabborg. SpongeBob thinks that Mr. Krabs is a robot and eventually sways Squidward. Heart was they poop on the robot? I don't know why, but Squidward's reaction is so funny. And the other gags like Electric Zoo, the design of the robot, House, the pirate movie, Squidward's father never loved him, Squidward loving Mr. Krabs, and the way SpongeBob thinks Mr. Krabs is a robot. Bleacher Heart was Mr. Krabs' torture. He didn't really need that at the end, but still I could listen. 49B, Rockabye Bye Valve. Patrick and SpongeBob adopt a pet baby scallop. My heart was weird time and 6 o'clock. My heart was the opening argue with SpongeBob and Patrick arguing over the dumb noise. Oh boy. 50A, wet painters. Patrick and SpongeBob paint Mr. Krabs' house. Here was the gags. The dollar gag, the candy gag, the Dollarama. We have technology. My heart was the opening when they're doing pain surfing and stuff. But I do like SpongeBob in Patrick's mouth and many more gags. 50B, the Krusty Krab training video. We watched the Krusty Krab training video. Highlight the format and cutaways. We cut away to a live action direct and cardboard cutout of Mr. Krabs. And this and other stuff like the hoopla. And there's other great jokes that I think we all know. My least favorite was the announcer bullying Squidward. I think this would have been higher on. This is definitely a top 5 material, but I think it would have been higher if we didn't have that. Episode fine. 51, SpongeBob party pooper pants. SpongeBob throws a house party. My favorite part was the depressed cashier and the window flip gag. Their part was SpongeBob. SpongeBob is being such a jerk in this episode. He ruins his friend's time, and you like it, but don't like it when he gets arrested just because it's so stupid. I don't want to talk about this episode. You know why it's bad. But on the Patchy side of things, 51p, SpongeBob's house party. This is a segment. SpongeBob, Patchy throws a house party. My third part was Underwater Sun. The first point was Patchy. He's being a jerk, but he doesn't ruin his friends from having a good time, at least. No, I think, as you can see, this whole thing was a trash episode. If only I had a great, fantastic episode after this. Oh, 52A, chocolate with nuts. 52A, chocolate with nuts. SpongeBob and Patrick sell chocolate bars to people. My heart was marrying her mother and chocolate. This episode is great. First point was Squidward. You're being a little annoying in the beginning. 50B, Merry Man and Barnacle Boy 5. The gang joins Merry Man to defeat Barnacle Boy when he becomes evil. Highlight was the second time. But this episode is truly underrated. First point was the first half. My voice is getting a little tired, so I'm actually just going to put this into 2 parts. Sorry, guys, but don't worry. We'll still have a second half.